Hey friends, we're back. Today we're doing rear door speakers in the Ford Focus ST here. Did front speakers the last video, did a stereo the video before that, did subs and amps and all that stuff in previous videos. Be sure to check those out. We will be replacing the stock speakers with these Rockford Fosgate R1 coaxial speakers for the rear door since there's not a separate tweeter. To make this job easier, we're going to be using a couple of adapters. Speaker wire adapter kit right here. Speaker adapter kit right here. I'll link these down in the video below, but we're getting ready to jump into the car and start taking the door panel off. To start, there's a little cover behind the door handle right there that's got to be popped out, and like the front, it's going to be difficult to get to, so I'm going to use two body panel removal tool things. I'm going to use one to push on one side of it, probably the back side here. Yeah, it looks like, well, maybe the front, and it's going to allow it to kind of pop up so I can get the other tool behind it and pry that cover off. I don't know how well I'll be able to show this, but right now, you can see it's like flush right there. And what I'm gonna do is use this tool on the back and see how it pops out that front right there. So now I can actually get the tool behind there and pry that off. Just a little trick for you guys. Once the cover's off, there's a screw right there that we're gonna get out with our little Torx bit right there. It's like a T25 or 27, I think it was a 25. Next thing we'll do is we'll use our body panel tool. We're gonna put it along probably the back side here actually. Pop this off and then lift this handle cover off. Once we've got that unhooked, you can see there's like clips there that kind of hold it on. We've got the plug on the front right there that we just need to simply disconnect by pushing in on the tab at the top right there and then sliding it out. So now we can set this off to the side. With the door handle cover removed, it gives us access to our last two bolts, one right there and one on the back right there. We're gonna pull those out and then we should be able to pop this door panel off pretty easily. Something kind of cool about these Focuses, got a built-in nut and bolt holder right there. Nifty. Once we've removed the three screws or bolts that hold this on, it's time to take your trim panel tool, simply pry it underneath the panel here, and find a good starting point towards the bottom where we're going to just pop it out and then pull it towards us. Now, just like with the front door, there's this door handle piece here we're going to pop off. There's just a couple tabs, one on the top right here that we'll push in, and then one on the bottom we'll push in. You'll see that'll allow us to kind of slide it off the door and out of the way. Now we can take this door panel and we can put it off to the side. When I pulled it off, one of the trim clips stayed in there, so we'll have to pull that out, reattach it on the back of the door, back that way, wherever it came off, and then we'll reassemble. The one thing I am doing extra, I'm pulling off the plastic cover here. I'm sound deadening my doors. Got a video where I showed you how to do sound deadening. Definitely going to improve your sound quality. I recommend if you're going to be doing all this work, buy some sound deadener. Just make it sound as good as you can anyway. I've also noticed on this back door, the window motor is right here. So if I pull this cover off and sound deaden over that, it's going to cover that up. So I'm going to probably leave the plastic cover kind of in place here. I'll probably cut it out and leave it here so it covers that, so the sound deadener doesn't stick to that, because this has got like an adhesive, like gooey stuff on it. So I'll cut it like right along here and kind of straight down, and then leave this part on and just sound deaden over the top of it, and then pull off this back part and seal it all up right there. You could probably get away with leaving this on there and sound deadening over the top because you've got enough metal along your door to put that sound deadener in there. That'd probably be the easy way to do it, to be honest, and honestly for this install, I might just do that. My last video, one of you viewers was upset that Mr. Pip wasn't in it more. So today, Mr. Pip is actually out here hanging out with me because it's a beautiful day. Pip, Mr. Pip, look at Daddy. Hi, buddy. So he's actually outside with me as I'm working on my car because it's beautiful, wonderful day out here. I'm not even working in the garage. Can you say hi, Mr. Pips? Can you tell him hello? He's scruffy looking, but he doesn't care. Winter's coming. He wants to stay warm. And you know what happens when Mr. Pip comes out? It's break time. He says, take a break. For today's break, drinking some honey raspberry wheat from Castle Danger Brewery up in Minnesota. Two Harbors, Minnesota is where the brewing company is, so that's what we're having for break today. Thanks, Pip. That's good stuff. And I'm not gonna show the sound deadening process. Again, I've got a video for that. So when I come back to you guys, we'll be on to that door speaker. Okay, we're back into doing the speaker. There's a clip on the speaker here, a little tab you push in, and that pops off. Mount this back up out of the way. And now we are ready to remove the speaker and the bracket it attaches to, because we ordered that replacement bracket for our new speakers. 1, 2, 3 bolts that hold that outside piece on there. Once those are off, this thing just kind of sits in some little groove things and it pops off. And that whole assembly comes out as one piece. A couple comparisons that I want to make here. This is a paper cone. They're cheap, they're flimsy, they were out over time. Not the best for reproducing sound, and you'll notice it's just cone in there. There's no tweeter. On the replacement speaker, it's a more rigid woofer cone, and it actually has a tweeter in the center, so it's going to reproduce the high notes more accurately. And then flipping these guys over to the back side, you'll see the stock speaker 25 watts, the replacement speaker 45 watts. We did put an amp in behind the head unit, which is a 50 watt amp, so it's pretty closely matched. You'll see there's a little resistor here. This is what is acting as the crossover for the tweeter, only sending the high signal to the tweeter. I will tell you the weight difference on these is huge too. This replacement Rockford Fosgate speaker I'm putting in, much heavier than this one. That's because it's got a smaller magnet on the factory as opposed to that Rockford Fosgate, and that's what's going to allow it to handle a little bit more power. Well, that and woofer design, coil size, all kinds of different factors. Something I didn't show you in my front door speaker video, which I should have. Even if you're not going to sound deaden your whole door, you want to buy some sound deadener to put around this opening, because the bracket may or may not be the right size. Plus, it's going to give you a good seal from that adapter we're putting on there to the door and not allow air to leak through. This door speaker adapter actually fits really well, and sometimes when you do this there would have been like a gap up here, and that's what this seals. Well, this actually fits like really well. Like on the inside there, that hole cut out is almost perfect. The thing I'm going to have to do though is I'm going to have a wire adapter to connect to my new speakers. I'm going to have to pull this out just a tad up here. You can see I can get that out and run the wire behind there so I can plug it into the back of the replacement speakers. But there's the door before I mount the speaker, all ready to go back together. Again, the sound deadener, it makes it so it's not tingy and hollowy sounding. It's going to make it so this thing can reproduce the best possible sound that it can. Here's that wire adapter, and this end just plugs into the factory end here, snaps into place just like that. And then, like I said, I'm going to take these two wires, which are the leads that connect to the back of the speaker. I'm going to pry out the top of this right here and just feed them back through there. You can see it's loose enough that it won't pinch them. Something else you could do is, if this was too tight, you could actually drill a hole in this ring right here to feed those wires through there to avoid any issues with pinching or anything like that. But like I said, on this car there's only 3 bolts that hold this bracket in, so there's plenty of room right there in that center between the 2 top bolts to run that wire without me being too concerned about it pinching. Okay, me just being overly cautious, I went ahead and loosened those bolts a little bit, the top 2 there, and then I used a couple little pieces of sound deadener where I'm gonna run the wire between them. And then once I run the wire down there, that'll hold this out enough so it won't pinch. I'll tighten these down, and I'm gonna lay a little bit of sound deadener across the top here just to make sure I've got a good seal. So now I've got my wire leads right there, run through the top right behind here, and like I said, I'm just going to take a little bit of sound deadener, run it along here just to give me a little bit better seal. Again, I'm not doing a sound quality build, so it doesn't matter that much, but it's just me being me going over the top. There's me being extra. Got that seal on there. So now I'm going to take these, attach these to the back of the replacement speakers, and on these, one terminal is larger than the other side. One of these will be larger than the other side, so you can only attach them one way. And once I get those attached, we're gonna use the hardware that comes with the speakers to put the little flat clips along the outside here where the speaker will attach, and we'll get it put together. I'll show you that once I get to that point here. Something I did discover, if you're using these 6 3/4 inch speakers on your rears like I am, this bracket will actually need to be trimmed down so that way it fits properly. There's these little brackets in here along this edge, which honestly I knew about, I didn't think about, but they need to come off so that way it can mount properly to the speaker. A couple of them will break off rather easily, but we've got to do that quick, and then we can go on to the next step. This process is not hard. I'll show you. Grab yourself a pair of pliers, kind of like these, or just whatever pliers you have, and what you do, put this so that thing's down or whatever, and grab it with your pliers, kind of like that, and then you just bend it down and it pulls it literally right off. And we're going to do that with all those little tabs, because those little tabs are what we would use to mount the 6 1/2 inch speakers like we did on the front of the car, but in the back door we are using 6 3/4, so we got to just pull those tabs off really quick. And honestly, those tabs were easy to break off here. Again, just took the pliers, clamped them on, pulled it off. Now I can put the speaker in and mount it. Even Pip says, good job, way to find that. Huh, Pip? Said, my work's done. I showed him how to do that. Good job, Pip. As I mentioned, those clips will only attach to these speakers the one way. So now we've got those attached. We can go ahead and put this in here and screw it into the speaker adapter. Okay, it didn't go as smoothly as I had hoped. I did have to get like a, I don't know what size this is, 5/64 3/32 drill bit, and drill some holes to actually mount this, because the holes that were in this bracket didn't fit the screws that came with the kit. And instead of going and trying to find some bigger screws, it was easier just to take a little tiny drill bit and drill out the holes where I needed them to mount this speaker to the bracket. Just something to be aware of. Speaker installed, sound deadening all completed. Time for me to reassemble the door in the opposite way that I pulled it apart. If you haven't done so, be sure to subscribe down below, like the video, share it, comment. I appreciate it a ton. The passenger side now is basically doing the exact same thing we just did to the driver's side. Pull it apart, sound deaden if you want, speaker, adapter, wires, reassemble, call it good. So there's my stereo install to this point on the Focus. I've done subs, amp, head unit, 4-channel amp, and door speakers in this car, and let me tell you, it sounds amazing. Super clean, super crisp, sound deadener in the doors, sound deadener in the hatch, no rattling. It sounds super, super sweet. So if you're looking for some speakers, these Rockford Fosgate Prime Series speakers sound amazing. Definitely worth it. Also, the sound deadener, second time now I've used that Amazon sound deadener. Spent $40, was able to sound deaden all 4 of my doors completely. Also, good stuff. Definitely will use it again. And that wraps up this video. Thanks for checking it out, and until next time.